I'm Celeste from the Department of Education Policy and Leadership. I always like looking at the policy angle in immigration and minority students. They are increasingly more and more common in Hong Kong classrooms, and our teachers need more training to help them to face them. Oh, actually, my interest in ethnic minority students go back to 15 years or 16 years when I first came to this university. And because that time, immigrant students from mainland China, they were quite popular in Hong Kong, right? So I look at how best they can integrate into Hong Kong society, although they are Han Chinese, but they do not really speak the local dialect, and also the teachers find it difficult. They write the simplified Chinese characters, so there is a kind of intercultural conflict. So my first two projects that were funded by QEF to train the teachers to modify the curriculum to suit the students from mainland China. So it wasn't that much about from other culture, other language culture as such. But in the past 5 to 6 years, I focused more on the non-Chinese speaking students, as well as Chinese students from mainland China and cross-boundary students as well. For the same obvious reason, they are having a kind of critical mass more common in the Hong Kong classrooms. But the teachers' education in Hong Kong does not seem to have upkeep with the kind of changing student diversity. Right? So I said that how can we build bridges for the two parties and make it more competent, relevant to our students, and enhance their learning efficiency. So these were kind of reasons and why I'm still interested in this target group. Teachers who are interested in other culture naturally will go another mile to understand and to think from the students' perspective. And they would like to read more books, talk to them, and try to see things from their own perspective, and also had to change their own thinking as well. It's not a natural thing. It has to be deliberate. If the teachers are they be interested in this area, they spend more time to look at the curriculum, to see in what ways they can adapt the materials, and also to bring in more kind of references, right? Using the multimedia and other social phenomena to enrich the teaching in the classroom. They are very important because they can relate to the students' daily life, and also try to understand why sometimes the parents of these non-local students, non-mainstream students, they may not be able to help the student to learn. So I think fostering that kind of multicultural communication between teacher and students, and also the family behind this group of students will be very helpful. I think the language, expectation, and also culture. For example, the mainland Chinese, they think that they respect the teachers, so they're not going to interfere too much about their teachers' expectation on the children. But then from the teacher's perspective, they think that the parents are somehow more laid back, right? They're not really serious about their children's learning. Likewise, some teachers, especially in early years, Hong Kong teachers, they find that South Asian little children, they lack of family support in the language learning, and also they find it difficult for them to follow the disciplines. I think that expectation between the teacher and also the parents on the children, they can bridge, they can communicate a bit more if they understand why the parents, not because they are laid back, not because they are really don't want to interfere anything. It's just because they, one, lack of the language competence. To maybe they respect the teacher. They think that teaching is the kind of profession of the teachers. So as a parents, they might as well to follow and let them to take the lead. I think these areas always create trouble for the teachers. They found so frustrated. But on the parents' side, they also find it difficult because they don't understand what's going on there. They don't know the system, and they do not know how to help the children's work, especially learning Chinese. Not in terms of supervision, but I I did take our students to the kind of classrooms that are full of non-local students and South Asian students for placement. That is kind of curricular learning, right? Cross-curricular learning. So I have seen them how they interact with the South Asian students, especially their first year students here. They do not have any prior experience in interacting with South Asian students, so they didn't know how to respond to them, right? But then if I give them some pointers, especially some games, and think about why they will be behaving like this, they're more active, they're not going to sit still, but they will have a lot of activities, they will like to shout from the seat. I think the kind of pointers will be helpful for them to understand, and also provide some opportunity for them to interact with the NGOs, the social workers. They also can inform our students, okay, because of this and that, there's some taboos, there's some religious regulations or the kind of values that would be helpful for them to understand, so they would not commit or create trouble or make mistakes. I think this, this is a kind of experience I have with my students. Yes, I think that we have one core course in the teacher education program, the B.Ed program, right? It's called Understanding and Managing Diversity. One of the topics is related to ethnic minorities and new immigrant students in Hong Kong. Although, I mean, everything can be enhanced, everything can be improved, but at least they build in the core course. Personally, I have offered another course. It's called Intercultural Sensitivity, Provisional Community Services. That's from that kind of core course that our first year students mainly, they will have the opportunity to go to the local communities to have a field to interact with students from other culture, and also have a home visit to some South Asian families. I think that is a way for them to foster dialogues and to increase their horizons of the local community. They know that, in Hong Kong, actually, there's quite a lot of ethnic minorities groups, not just kind of on the TV, just so. There's some kind of stereotyping about ethnic minorities in Hong Kong, right? But if they go there and have a kind of first-hand experience interacting with South Asian community groups, that will create a more balanced view and understanding of them, of the needs as well. Yeah, I think so. Another thing is very important for them to talk to the parents, to understand why they react like this. For example, for the Filipino families, the parents they do not learn mathematics as the way the kids learned from Hong Kong, in Hong Kong, right? And then they do not know how to follow the Hong Kong way to assist the children to learn at home, to do the mathematics homework. So this is something that they need to have dialogue. Because the teachers said that why they are so slow in mathematics, why they are so behind. Whereas the parents said, well, we do not know why the teachers teach our kids to do math like this. We didn't learn this in the Philippines. So only through conversation you will realize the kind of differences. Chinese is a kind of always point, right? I mean, a lot of people have been saying that Chinese are very difficult for the South Asians. I think it's more than just difficult. I guess that there's another kind of mentality. And also for the South Asian families, it's important for them to get back home, to join somebody's wedding or family issues, occasions, etc., etc. To their religion, to their family culture, that is something important. But for the Hong Kong teachers, the time is very short. There's a lot to learn, a lot to catch up. They're very keen, the teachers are very keen that the student need to be attentive, they need to catch up with what they need to learn. They don't want them to be away for 2 weeks in the middle of their studies. So I guess the two parties, teachers and parents, they can sit down and have a conversation so that they understand each other. Parents can be modified, and likewise, the teachers can also modify their expectation. That can minimize a lot of misunderstanding and fostering more kind of helpful and meaningful collaboration that will be really beneficial to the kid. I think that maybe not so keen to teach first, but maybe to make friends, to have a chat with them, and also to invite the parents to come to the classroom or have a kind of a home visit so that they understand what kind of background these kids are coming from. Then they can revise the curriculum, the schedule, the timetable together. Of course, the teachers have to follow the schedule a bit, but I believe that through conversation and communication, the parents can do a bit more, not just one-sided communication, both sides, right? So parents need to upkeep a bit more, and teachers need to revise their own expectation. That would be very useful for the kid. And also some parents, they don't speak English. I'm not saying that they are non-Chinese, therefore English is better. It's not like that, especially the mothers, right? English is the third or fourth language. I mean, the Hindu and Urdu. There are lots of other family dialects as well. I guess that maybe school, they have some experienced teachers interacting with South Asian children. Clearly, they can give them some clues. And also, if they can rely on some sort of South Asian teacher assistant, they may give them some sort of tips as well. I will advise our new teacher to team up with some experienced teacher who have a kind of hands-on experience in handling multicultural education, non-Chinese speaking children, then they will minimize the frustration. I think in the cultural sensitivity, it's a kind of, you can catch it, not to learn it. I mean, you so much to the lecture, to hear the principles, the points and all that. It's more important for a person, an individual teacher, to live or to expose to that kind of environment so that the person can really articulate and internalize some sort of values. Teaching is an art. It's not a mechanical job. You cannot just say that follow these 10 points and you will be okay. No, as you said that individual diversity, right? Not just cultural diversity, but a kind of ability diversity is another point as well. We also encounter some sort of non-local students, either mainland Chinese immigrant students or South Asian students. They have intellectual disabilities. And this morning, actually, I've been to a special school. The special school, they have more than 20 South Asian students, right? That is also in primary session and then secondary session. And I observed one class, there are 3 South Asian students in that secondary class. They have limited Cantonese ability and also limited intellectual ability. So make the teaching even more challenging. But the vice principal, he did say that they rely on a kind of South Asian teaching assistant to communicate with the parents. I think in that particular setting, a holistic approach, a whole school approach will be even more important. So I would say to my new students, don't be so keen, so eager, so anxious to teach in the beginning stage. It takes time, and don't feel so guilty because you have not done your job as a teacher. To be a teacher, apart from teaching, you also have a pastoral care, right? You also have a kind of an example. I think acceptance is number 1. Understanding the culture behind it, making friendship, then you will win the child over. After that, you can do a bit more. You can accelerate the progress. I think that is some kind of practical tips I can give to them. I think the homeschool collaboration is the way forward. But this particular area in our teacher education is not yet focused so much. I'm talking about not with the kind of mainstream parents, but non-mainstream parents. It's especially a challenge, but it's important. And also we should collaborate with more NGOs in Hong Kong, non-governmental organizations in Hong Kong, because I think the social worker can play a role where you cannot expect a teacher to do everything. There's so much for them to do. Some of the teachers are already burned out, right? And we are a teacher education institution. We do not want to impose everything on our teachers. We want to equip them to be competent, to be happy, to enjoy the profession, to contribute to the community. But at the same time, there are other professionals that also can have a role to play nowadays. So education is not a single business of the teacher. So surely parents have their own role and the community have another role as well. If the government can bring all parties together, give a bit more space and also financial support, that will be very useful.